Hacking has been taking a different meaning in the last years, in the last months, in the last, you call it. Now hacking has a different connotation, different definitions, and of course, a different meanings, especially when we talk about education. This is the Hacker's Corner. Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the Hacker's Corner. My name is Cristian Servín. I'm an associate professor here at El Paso Community College. I teach the computer science and the IT courses like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. As you may or may not know, we're running a binational effort between El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez. We're actually working in what we call Hack the Border. Hack the Border is composed by a couple of a series. We call it the Binational Adversarial Series for the Border Good. The whole purpose of this series of events is to promote and to create awareness in cybersecurity in many different areas. What we're doing right now is this collection of professional developments, if you may. It's called workshops. The workshops that we are taking place in El Paso Community College every Thursday from 4 to 5:30. So if you have a chance, please visit hacktheborder.org, and that will take you to this RSVP. And make sure if you are interested in one of those different workshops, please RSVP, because we have a limited amount of locations and limited amount of seating. So hopefully everybody can join us in this continuous efforts. Remember that the hackathon, the binational hackathon, will be November the 17th to the 19th at EPCC Valle Verde in the AST. We hope everybody can make it there and express your interest in to come up with solutions for the border good. Today, we're gonna have a special guests actually, because October the 6th was the Great Minds in STEM. If you don't know what Great Minds in STEM is, a national conference that basically brings a lot of scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and technologies across the nation. And then there's a couple of events there that you can actually participate and engage in these activities. One of these activities was the CASI Hackathon. It was more than 90 teams who actually play, and actually it was a big competition. As I said, more than 90 teams from 7 a.m. all the way to around 10 p.m. It was a completely different perspective because the entire day was composed of workshops and whatnot. We're very lucky to announce that EPCC got honorific mentioning in these events because we were one of the top teams actually to these awards, as a matter of fact. So today we have my hackers, and yes, there are my hackers. I have two of my hackers with me, which is Jesus Lopez and Eduardo Menendez. Both of them are computer scientists. We're missing a couple of them also because there were some time constraints and some other space constraints that they couldn't make it with us. Alejandro Rodriguez was also with us, and there's a couple of other students who were leading this whole effort, including Fernando. What was that? Who else was in the entire competition? Luis Aguirre, right? Luis, and then it was Rodrigo Renteria
and Kevin Mejia.
Kevin Mejia. So there's a couple of my hackers there, and I mentioned with all proud, they're my hackers. They're ethical hackers. And today we're going to talk about this experience that we got during the Great Minds in STEM through this hackathon and this competition. It happens that both who are right here, they're my students, and there are great students, by the way, and have all these great ideas that they compiled during these 2 years at EPCC. So when we went there, we started to do this competition. It was a completely different scenario. So I want to thank both of you who attend here. Congratulations, by the way, which is a great merit that we have. So, Jesus, tell us what about the hackathon? What's your experience?
Well, the hackathon was a really good experience. I've never been into one, but actually last year we went there, but this year was a complete different thing because this year was in person. And in person, it's a really different experience because you are seeing the other teams struggle and constrain with the hackathon itself. We were having penetration testing, forensics, which was more about seeing the connections that you have within the operating system or the network, and we have password cracking, and we have more about steganography, which are things encrypted in images.
What do you mean with steganography? What is a steganography? Tell us.
A steganography, it's a type of encryption where you put a password, a flag, a word, a sentence,
Any kind of information.
anything you want, any kind of information inside another file, inside an image. Most commonly use an image, or you can put it in a video or a GIF.
Interesting. It's like an image, but when you see the image, you just see like a regular image of X, Y, or Z.
Yes.
But there's an algorithm encrypted. That is the art of hiding information in an image. It's called steganography. That's amazing, by the way. What else?
What else? In the part of password cracking, we were doing a lot of stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, it was a lot of points. We were like, I think this time it was double the points, so it was like 4,000 points, but it was quite difficult to get there.
Eduardo, tell us what is your experience and tell us something about the equipment and the ideas that you brought to this CASI hackathon.
So in my case, it was my first hackathon, so it is a completely new experience for me. It was the first time that I saw the way that it worked. So I was like really nervous the first time that I got there, because I didn't know what to do. I barely knew anything about cybersecurity. But we had some workshops. I learned a lot of things, and also my teammates helped me out on that field or that part. So the tools that we use, mainly we use the operating system Kali Linux.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
So Kali Linux is an operating system that people who are in cybersecurity use to test different things, like password cracking or pen testing, or in forensics. For example, password cracking, it's a way to decrypt a password to see what is inside of the hashes. And a hash is a way to hide the content of something from the human eye.
From the human eye. So it's very interesting because you mentioned about this operating system called Kali Linux. And Kali Linux, by the way, today we have a workshop, well, if you're watching this, in the past we have workshops about Kali Linux. And what you're telling me, it's an operating system that focuses only for cybersecurity purposes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mainly it focuses on cybersecurity.
In cybersecurity, because it has tools, it has some elements, but it turns out that what you've been telling us or describing us is more like an aggressive perspective, like password hacking, penetration testing, firewalls, things like that. Why you're focusing in that?
First of all, it's important to clarify that it's not only to attack, we can only defend. That's why in the hackathons we have two different teams, the blue one and the red one. The red one is the one who is attacking, and the blue one is the one who's defending. So basically in cybersecurity, defending is looking for breaches that we can cover up in order to protect our data.
Very interesting. So you mentioned red team, blue team. Red team is the attacker, is the offensive one. Blue team is the defensive one. I heard also there's purple team, which actually recognizes both areas and they try to give feedback in both teams. Usually that's in industry, right? So pen test is, or what we call penetration testing, is that you test certain tools to make sure everything is being according to the code. Everything is clear, there's no vulnerabilities. In the past, we discussed this, that there's a lot of tools available that you recognize in order to avoid information leakage, vulnerabilities, and things like that. So tell us your experience and how those affect or influence you in your education.
Education, when it comes to pen testing?
Well, this experience, because one of the things that I mentioned, or you mentioned, is that we brought these Kali Linux machines, and this was my very first experience. But in the past, we have discussed this somehow, no?
Yeah, that's right.
So tell us a little bit, I mean, either or. What do you guys think? How does this experience kind of influence you in your education?
Well, when it comes to this experience and into my education, mainly it interests me more into cybersecurity, because I was only into software development, and I was like, yeah, I don't really like cybersecurity. But I started like studying for this hackathon. I experienced the way that everything works in there. So it was something out of the ordinary for me. it made my mind that I want to focus on both fields, software development and cybersecurity.
At EPCC, we have great programs in cybersecurity, computer science. Actually, many of our computer science courses infuse cybersecurity components. Now, the concept of cybersecurity nowadays is being just reused a lot. But for example, you were in my classes, both very good students. Tell us a little bit about how you connect those ideas from the classroom to the real world application.
It depends on what you're seeing, because not everything applies for cybersecurity. But the thing that you get from classes is the notion or the logic to start doing more things. What I mean by this is that you need to think a lot on how to penetrate a system. It's not easy like just get in and that's it. You have to start touching doors, and when you find a door open, you can get there.
You mentioned something very interesting, because in the computer science classes, we teach you how to do computational thinking, right? This is a variable, this is a program, this is Java, do our simple program, you're done and you go home. But the way we teach you to think, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
The adversarial thinking perspective, that helped. Did that help?
Yes.
In which sense?
In the sense that you only know, not are you thinking of yourself as a user, but you are thinking on the other ones. Like, okay, I think this might be that. I mean, this might be the password, or maybe I can start the attack from here or from there, or maybe I can start asking the virtual machines, because when you get to a VM, which is a virtual machine, or maybe that's the whole computer. You start asking the computer and maybe start breaking walls to get to the core, to the user, and then to reset the password, and that's it.
So holistically, right? You don't think like this is the input, this is the output that I want. You consider the entire context holistically. It's like you create a program, but it has consequences when you deploy. For those who know, you and I know, computer science and information technology, we write programs. They're called executables or software, if you may, that executes in certain different levels, right? So when you write this program, when you write this software, you don't just want to write a software that will be operational. For example, a mobile app. People have one of these all the time. They download and say, okay, I'm just gonna chat with my friends and whatnot. They never care about the cybersecurity components, the privacy, the ethical considerations. So what you're saying, that kind of makes a lot of sense, because we teach you how to write a program, but now you're not just writing programs, you're writing programs considering what? The whole aspects that you mentioned. What else? Nothing else regarding the whole adversarial thinking? Because what you guys did there, it was completely adversarial thinking. Tell us about the dynamics. I mean, you spend more than 12 hours sitting there working in real world problems, in a competition. Tell us a little bit more about your experience that you got.
Well, basically, there was a point of the hackathon where I stand up and I go look for all the teams, like to see how my opponents are doing. Most of them, they were using just virtual machines inside their computer. In our case, we had the bare metal, or what we'd like to call, we had installed the whole operating system on the laptop. It has consequences, both of them, but it was very stressful environment. I mean, to be honest, the problems were not easy. It's not like boom and that's it. We have to think a lot, and we have to use the tools that Eduardo mentioned earlier, that Kali Linux had. And thank to God, or I don't know actually, in the morning we had workshops. We had like 3 or 4 workshops, and then after that we had our little break, and then after that it was the whole hackathon.
What about you? What are your experiences?
So in my case, I think it was really exhausting.
Exhausting.
Exhausting,
Okay.
yeah.
Why? Tell us why.
Because you had to keep thinking for so many hours straight. You didn't have any kind of rest if you didn't take any. Like for me, the first rest that I took was like 5 hours in, and it was because I was done. I was like burned out because I was falling asleep as well. I didn't have a well night's sleep before it, so I bought some candies in order to give me
Energy.
yeah, to pump up my energy.
And it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because those competitions were designed to push you to the maximum you can resist, okay? And that is the whole idea of competitions. I was there, by the way. I was there. There was a lot of teams going on. There was a very interesting dynamic. As I just mentioned, this was organized by Cassie, is our partners at UTEP. They have a team there that they organize that, led by Dr. Salama and Jaime Acosta, Dr. Acostas. And most of our students, when they graduate, they go straight to their labs. As a matter of fact, I was very happy to see most of my former students from EPCC, they were organizing many of those components from the hackathon. So it was very interesting to see the transformation from the community college to the four-year institutions to a more national level. You being there, you were actually going to this venue where you actually play with tools that they designed. But most of those students, they were in the same place that you are right now at some point. Maybe not EPCC, some of them are EPCC, I know that. Tell us, what was your dynamics with the other students? Do you feel that the other students, they were stressful or exhausted? Or tell us a little bit more about how those dynamics interact with the students, but also thinking adversarially. You said, I went to see the other contest, but you're aware that they're fighting for the same goal. Tell us a little bit about that dynamic, adversarially.
Well, it was weird.
Yeah.
Because it was a division between the ones that went there to learn and maybe to start working on cybersecurity, but there was a portion of a group of people that were really working really hard and being stressed, and until the end of the competition they were like, I'm done. So the hackathon was divided by expert and novice, and that gives a lot of things, because the experts were in the battlefield with the experts, and the novice with the novice. And there were many people that were just there just to learn, to start working, because I don't think there's a platform to start working into cybersecurity. I might be wrong, but if not, I would like to see it. The other group was really, really stressed. Like, I want this prize so hard. I want to win this.
What was the highest prize?
I don't know, actually. I mean, just the recognition.
The whole recognition is big.
Yeah, that's it. I
And
think.
we have talked about, for example, DEF CON, which is the main conference for hacking, right? There's Capture the Flag. Capture the Flag is another kind of hackathon, but it's more like a competition. But even there's no, I mean, I think there's some awards or some prizes, but they're insignificant with the honor that you get or you win, for example, on a hackathon or a competition or Capture the Flag. And it's very interesting that you notice that. Now, what about you? Because you have mentioned these dynamics previously.
Yeah, something that I noticed is by 7 p.m. or somewhere around that, a lot of teams just left. They quit it. They were too stressed out to keep going. At the end of the night, we were only like 10 teams left, and we were close to 80 or 90 at the beginning. So it was something really impactful to see that not everyone is able to deal with that kind of stress.
It's interesting what you mentioned, because that kind of stress is a mentally stress, physically stress, emotional stress, and sometimes ego stress, because you say like, well, I'm a good computer scientist, I'm a good information technologist, might as well do good. You open this whole contest like, OMG, right? What happened, right? So that kind of stress is also a little bit exhausted, and sometimes it's encouraging, sometimes a little bit disappointing, but sometimes that's where you need to decide, either I'm gonna finish this program or I'm gonna, I guess, give up. You guys didn't give up, so it's a great thing. Now, you mentioned something about the opponents. Tell us a little bit, for example, here at the EPCC, we mentioned a lot of awareness. Do not open just any email. Do not double click on every item. If you find a USB, don't connect it. right? All these social engineering concerns. Did you find something like that on the hackathon when you were there in the competition?
I don't think so.
In my case, I was really afraid to connect to the Wi-Fi in there
Why?
because I had the fear to someone to take my information.
So you say the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You didn't want to connect to the Wi-Fi?
No,
Why?
because as Jesus mentioned, a lot of networks were cloned.
Okay, he didn't mention, but tell us a little bit more.
So there were like, I don't remember the specific name, but it was something like Hilton clone.
So,
Literally
for
like that.
example, the Hilton clone. Okay, so you guys stay in one main venue called the Hilton, right?
Mhm.
But there was open Wi-Fi. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What do you mean with open Wi-Fi?
Oh, it's actually a Wi-Fi that anyone can connect. Like it doesn't have an authentication method for you to connect to it.
What is authentication?
It's like a password, like a key you use to connect to that.
Oh, okay. So let me see if I got this right. So in order to be there, you need to be either a member or a client or something like that. That someone gives you like a username and password, and then you can connect.
Yes.
Right? Like privately or whatever that means. But
But the thing here is that there was an open network that was a clone of.
open network.
Yeah.
Oh, a clone.
A
So it
clone.
was basically the same name, but it says like it was like kind of variations. Like, so I get it now. So you went to online, and I need to get connected to the internet. You were afraid because like, you know what? I'm afraid to just connect to a clone. So the clone was like exactly the same name as the original one, but also has something else that distinguishes between the first one and the last one. And this one, you don't need any authentication method. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
The problem with that is that if you get to connect to an open network, I'm not saying it will happen, but it might happen, that someone is sniffing or just looking for the network connections, and maybe he can get into your device.
Mhm.
It can be your laptop, your cell phone, your Apple Watch, or even your tablet.
We talk about this in previous shows, in different previous episodes, that there's something called a concept. You mentioned sniffing right now, and sniffing is one of the men in the middle, and that's the official name of this attack. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
What is man in the middle?
A man in the middle is someone that is standing between the connections. So he's looking to all the network traffic in order to get something of it. It can be passwords, it can be usernames, or it can be bank account information or any information he can get from it. And maybe he can blackmail you or do
Other
lot of
malicious
stuff.
things. Okay, so interesting. So we have an open network. You're in one point, you're connected to your bank, for example. You send that information through the network, but because it's an open network, someone can sniff between. Is that what you're saying? That's called man in the middle, and that receives that feature. That's why you were a little bit worried to connect once you were in the entire conference, which is a very good practice. And that's great that you all are aware about that situation. It's more common than you think that it happens. So I want to thank everybody who went to the hackathon, who went to this Great Mind in STEMs. I'm very proud of all of you. I'm very proud of my students, the 10 individuals who attend. Some of them, they're already at UTEP. Brian, he's just graduated with us, and he moved to UTEP. It's also good to mention him. And I think you guys did a fantastic job there. I have heard great things about all of the teams from the EPCC. We're very proud of that. I want to thank also who's watching it right now, because this wouldn't be possible without your support. You have mentions, we have received emails and feedback about this show and how are the different directions that we should lead this show. And one of them is basically about these participations. That's why we created this binational effort called Hack the Border. Again, the concept of hacking is a little bit nebulous because people might think it's a bad thing, completely bad thing. But at the same time, we are hackers, okay? We're ethical hackers. We recognize the vulnerabilities that exist, and we're trying to give a solution for that. And this is what you guys did. Congratulations. So we have any final thoughts about this?
No, I think we said all.
You said it all?
Yeah.
Eduardo?
Just thank you for the opportunity to take us there. I think it is possible because of you, because you teach us everything that we know. So just wanted to thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, you guys are great. That's the difference. If you have good students, you take, of course, for these opportunities. So please carry on with the good job. I think we're very proud of the entire team itself. So I want to thank also the other students who were not able to make it. Some of them are watching us right now next door. I want to thank all of them who make the effort to attend. This was the Hackers Corner. Please visit us if you're interested to know about Hack the Border. You can find it here, this website. There's a lot of information going on. And also send us an email or send us information. Here is some of the information that you can find. And in case you're interested in some topic to develop, we will be happy to address that. Meanwhile, we'll continue with this whole conversation of Hack the Border between the both cities. Please stay tuned. We're going to have more of those interviews because those are the items that we're discussing in Hack the Border. My name is Christian Servin. I'm an associate professor at computer science. I want to thank everybody who's watching. This is the Hackers Corner. See you next time.